All right, y'all. Welcome back. This is Brother Modi by way of Put Out Direct Media. We got a new segment that I'm introducing to the world. It's going to be called The Two Initiates. And this is going to be with me and my brother. We're going to dive deep into, the everyday practicality of life. But we're also going to give our own personal perspective from our own experiences and some of the teachings and the things that we've gathered along the way on our journey to give a new insight on how we should view life. And on that note, I am your brother Mordeeb, and I want to introduce my homeboy, my fellow initiate, my brother. Uh, we just go way back. We got a lot of history together, and he's that guy. Fame, welcome to the show.
Peace, salute.
So I want to get right into it, man. What do you what the current climate we in right now when you look at America, because we got a new administration and all this stuff, but people are talking make America great again and Trump is in office and this, that, and the third. A lot of my people, I was in the grocery store the other day and I was cashing out at the register and two sisters were talking, and all you heard was, Trump is going to cut the food stamps and Trump is going to do this and he don't know what he doing, and he's just up there cutting stuff and it's affecting us. I'm just listening to the conversation. I got to the end of getting my items, and I said to him, I was like, I overheard y'all conversation. Not that I was, ear hustling anything, but could I just add a little, tidbit to the conversation to shed some light on maybe what some people are not seeing? I saw the resistance. It's like, hold up, nigga, hold up, because if you are not on this wagon of disliking whomever, then you're the opposition. And I was like, just on a basic level, most people don't know how politics work. They don't study any geopolitics. They don't know how things are globally impacted. They don't understand none of this, but they watch the news and they are taught how to respond to things from an emotional perspective without any type of scholarship. And this is herd mentality. This is how the herd, they pretty much follow the narrative of what everybody else is following. 5 minutes into my explanation of just, it's not even about Trump, but let's look at the fact that things are changing and we have to adapt and change along with what's coming down the pipe. This day and age, for you not to know something is a choice because we have access to so much information. It's ridiculous. But I can tell one of the sisters was like, she went blank on me. She wasn't trying to hear that shit. And it got to a point where she eventually just walked off. But it's not a lesson learned, but it's just a testament to, how you heard the phrase never cast pearls unto swine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying the sisters were swine, but when it comes to a level of information, people are just not ready or even worthy to be able to digest it. But she went and just kind of walked off, and the other sister was polite enough to, you know, uh, thank me for the little piece that I did add, and I left. And I didn't feel no type of way about it, but it was just like I was just reflecting on the fact that a lot of my people are, um, they're still in a mode of conditioning, and I always have said, if you focus on saving people, it will be to your own detriment. That sounds harsh, but we have an assignment as individuals to come here and do what we need to do as individuals. And then if you are at a level of light to shed on other people, then you should do that. But it's like Neo in the Matrix, man. People are potential agents, so to speak, and they'll do anything to protect this reality. My job is not to dismantle them from this reality because it can cause a lot of problems. But What is your take on just us and what we're seeing right now in the news, the world, America, and how things are changing so rapidly that I feel like if people don't pull back, get a different perspective, and get acquainted to the change and ride the wave, you'll get left behind. But what's your take on it? What you think about that?
So I definitely think that we as a people, we get real emotional about it, and we have every right to be. So
Right.
maybe we can talk about what you actually told the ladies.
Right.
What
Right.
we'll talk about that later, but because I want to know exactly what you told them and what would make one of them go away, whatever, so on and so forth. But I think our people, man, we're emotional, and again, like I said, we have every right to be. And I'll say that, like, you can't really believe everything that you think that you see, if that makes sense. Like,
Right.
social media, because you scroll social media, man, everything is Trump cut this and Trump cut that and
Right.
Trump
Right.
did this and Trump did this. And so my thing is, listen, I don't fuck with, he's an 80-year-old white man, millionaire, fucking with billionaires like that. All right, cool. But as far as this country is concerned, as far as I'm concerned, I don't get into because it's hard to, I don't get into the minutia of, oh, Trump did this. You got to kind of sit back and let things play out. So
Right.
that's my take on it. But if obviously, our people are emotional, and like I said, they have the right to be, um, because we've gone through so much. But I think that we would benefit from kind of just sitting back and just kind of playing it cool, sitting in the corner watching how things work. Because outside of, and like, even me, and I think I can speak on this, being a former um, federal government employee, being active duty Army, but then also seeing being I have, I can go to the VA, and I have my own private insurance as far as medical. I don't see where what's in the media is actually affecting what's happening on the ground, if that makes sense. I don't see it yet. Now we gotta give it time, but for the most part, like, my VA doctors and all the people, they're the same. They're still calling. They're still being vigilant in what they have to do for veterans. Um, Again, I was active duty, so we work with civilians. Um, the ones that I know haven't really been fired, so I think it's kind of like some trimming of the fat. And
Right.
I don't want anyone to think that I'm just like this. I'm not a Trump supporter, and, oh, Trump go.
Right.
It's not like that. It's just more so, let's kind of sit back and let it play out. And as Black people, um, and we're gonna be all right. We've been through this so many times. So
Right.
that's my take on it, from a macro perspective.
Right. I left the conversation. That's one of the last things I said. I was like, we good. We're gonna be all
Yeah,
right.
we're gonna be fine, man.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of us, well, let's go a little bit deeper. Let's peel it back a little bit. Um just the when you look at the entire reality of what we're living in right now, I feel like based on research and based on some of the things we've learned in some of our schools of higher metaphysical teachings, that the process that we're in a process right now, and everybody's playing a part of that process. But you have some people who are, how should I say, they haven't evolved to a state yet of seeing some of the bigger picture, if not all. And with that being said, they feel like a victim. They feel like a victim in a video game. They feel like a victim. And it's sad to say, but I understand it from a higher perspective, that you have people who are inside this reality right now who are at a state where they're not supposed to see the big picture, and they won't see the big picture. But I didn't come here to force them to see the big picture. My job is for me to cultivate my ability to see the big picture. And anybody who can resonate with where I'm at, I can also assist them, and vice versa. I may meet someone who is vibrating at a particular frequency who can help me see even more. And some of your more established spiritual teachers and masters, we talk about detachment. And sometimes when people hear the word detachment, they feel like motherfucker just don't care. No, it's not that. It's being detached where things are not dictating how you should feel and how you should be. You stay centered in the midst of whatever's going on. You are assessing and you are assisting where there is a need. But other than that, you're not picking a side. You're not picking and choosing. You're not saying, I ain't fucking with them over here. I'm over on this side. When you evolve to a certain state spiritually, we are observing what's going on. It's like chess. We have to be able to see if we make a move this way, how it's going to affect all the other pieces on the board for the next couple of moves up.
Right.
But having that conversation with a normie that's not happening. You have to dumb it down and package it up where it's digestible. And the only thing that is a little nerve-wracking is the fact that you have to appease to their emotional perspective, because they're not giving you anything, not all, but most. Because you have some who did their due diligence. They kind of get it. But you have some, they're going to give you an emotional perspective on what they're seeing and what they're experiencing. And the thing is, how you combat that? You in your feelings. I can't. I mean, this is how you feel about it. I'm not here to say you shouldn't feel that way, but I kind of just not engage in those types of conversations. I actually stepped out of my protocol because I really don't engage in conversation with too many neophytes, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because it could be a detriment. And I have to use a very discriminative mind if I'm gonna move forward and have that type of discussion with someone. And it's kind of like when we were in the temple, right? And you remember certain students will be asking certain questions and Seba would not answer them. And he wasn't being rude, but he just understood that if I answered those questions, it would cause more distraction and more confusion based on where you are. So certain things just don't need to be said to certain people because they're just not there. You can elaborate on that.
So it takes me back to our Dr. York times when we were tableaking. And I often think about that because man, that was like a badge of honor to be able to do that. And the older I got, I'm like, man, I'm not talking to nobody. No, I'm not doing that shit. Because it was just like, what's the point? Everybody's gonna evolve how they evolve. And they're gonna evolve because so on a deeper spiritual level, and this, based on your karmic impressions and your past lifetimes, that's just where you are.
Right.
So, and I hate to use the term, it's already been written, but I may be able to from a macro level, I may be able to spark some intellectual or some spiritual
plant a seed.
Idea, plant a seed that's going to lead you to the mysteries.
Right.
But ultimately, it's not my job. I'm playing my part. The universe has put me in a position to play my part. But I just think for me, tab leaking became a little bit more egoistic about trying to get somebody to come to your side.
Right.
But back then, you had to be radical back then because shit, you had us up there. You had the Hebrew Israelites. Remember them cats? You had the Hebrew Israelites outside of this was all outside of 5 points. With reading the Torah or the Tanakh, I can't remember. I think it was the Torah. Then you had the Christians with the two white dudes with the white shirts with the ties reading the Bible. So we had to be visible back then. But and so I agree with you on that aspect. And then as far as like I think detachment, um, and it's funny you said detachment, but because we were talking, I was with Ampu for the past a couple years ago. We were talking about we were studying the original book, the not the original, but Saber Ma's, you know, Egyptian yoga philosophy. His first book, Egyptian Yoga Philosophies of Enlightenment. And detachment is something that just has to be practiced. It's not easy, and it has to be practiced practiced at different levels. So you have maybe coworkers in it, and then you have friends, and then you have family, and then you
Right,
have
right.
wife, and you have children. So there are different levels to detachment, and I think that people get detachment wrong when it's like you said, it's not like we don't care. No, it's just you're actually protecting, you know, you're protecting your feelings, you're protecting that inner being within yourself, so that you don't fall off your square. And because people have been attached to people, you've got and then, I mean, we can go into this a little bit later, but attachment breeds ego, it breeds lust, it breeds envy, it breeds all these things that lead to either death, prison time, or it could be, tragic. So, but I will say that the way I look at it is balance. I think everything needs to be balanced. And I'll say this, and then I'll hand it back to you. I try to live my life with balance. I understand everybody, you see online, you see everybody talking about, "Oh, only positive energy, only positive, only this." And I think to myself, I'm like, okay, I get that, because, but you wouldn't know what positive energy was, or you wouldn't know what positivity was if you hadn't experienced negative.
Right. You need a reference, a frame of
You
reference.
need a reference. Exactly. So my one of my goals, especially in my later well, I'm not late, my 40s, I try to keep it even keel, not too high, not too low. And we all know that. We've been studying that since back in the day. But I hear people say, "Oh, positive energy, positive this, positive that," and I'm like, okay, that's cool, but just understand that it's not going to, polarity is going to swing the other way. And as long
Exactly.
as if you stay balanced, um, you'll be able to better, you'll be able to deal with situations, going back to the point with Trump, going back to the point with what's going on with politics, going back to the point what's going on with our people. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you stay balanced, none of this, it doesn't affect you the same way.
Right.
You understand that, hey, yeah, okay, everything on the news is Trump, 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 and then everything over here is boycott, boycott, boycott. But if you stay centered, you stay on your square, and you stay balanced, you're gonna be okay anyway. So I kind of wanted, I know I went the long way around to bring back the point, but that was, so detachment, balance is something that should be practiced um, day to day. And then anything that's going on around you, it won't really affect you. You can hear it, but you'll understand you're standing on your square, and nobody can take you off of it, because we're all viewing the prism of this of the world through we're viewing the world through our own prism. It's like the circle with the dot in the middle. You're the center of your own universe. So keep it balanced, and you'll be okay. So
And I think that's where the phrase "the universe is mental." And
yes,
when people hear that, they automatically, when they hear the term universe, they automatically go to the vastness of space and all this other stuff.
right,
But
right,
even
right.
the vastness of space is a uh, the observer has to observe it for it to be a thing, which still means the universe is mental. It's a
Like
mental.
space to you is not going to be the same as space to someone else. The
Exactly.
universe doesn't, it's not going to mean the same. That's why you have Christians, Muslims. And I'm not saying, let me not say that's why. I mean, that's way deeper. Religion is way deeper, but you have Muslims, you have Christians, you have Buddhists, you have Hindus, you know what I mean? You have
Right.
you have, Taoism, you have all of these different aspects because everybody is on a large scale, people are looking at the universe from their own perspective. And yeah,
Right. It's almost like a I'll say, to sum it up, it's a fragmented reality. In other words, once we transcend this reality, it's one. But
right.
here it's fragmented. Thus we have different aspects of it.
Yeah.
A whole lot of different aspects. Thus, the universe as we know it will be mental because it's based on your own personal observation.
Yep.
Going back to what you said before about detachment, um, I remember a scene in Star Wars where Yoda told, I don't know if it was, I forget who he said it to, but he said, "Fear of loss is the quickest path to the dark side."
Uh, yeah. Yeah.
So that attachment, and this is the foundation of the creation of Darth Vader.
Yep.
He had an attachment for, I forget the sister's name,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
Padme. Yeah.
yeah,
She was the, yeah.
and she was going to die, and his attachment for that, his fear of loss, drove him by any means necessary to try to hold on to that. Thus, we
Yes.
have Darth Vader as we know it. So when you look at Star Wars, Star Wars is really almost like a Kabbalistic tree of life. It gets into the sciences
Hmm.
of the spiritual aspirant. When you look at Jedi Knights, they're nothing but spiritual
Initiates.
initiates who are taught detachment, who are
Mhm.
taught balance, who are taught uh, righteousness, so to speak. No, don't kill out of anger and stuff like that, and protect the meek and stuff. So the whole principle of those knights is what we talk about when you're being a spiritual aspirant who's reached the level of masterhood, but the principles that they live by is exactly what we're talking about when you have that level of detachment and understanding in your duties.
And I
So
wanna, I wanna make this clear to whoever will be listening. Detachment doesn't mean that you don't care.
right,
Detachment, because people get that mixed up. Detachment just means that you are detaching or pulling yourself back from a situation and looking at it from a balanced standpoint, a non-biased standpoint, whether it be your daughter, whether it be your son, whether it be your mother. But it doesn't mean not caring. It just means that it's like somebody, and you could be in a fist fight brawl for your life and be detached from it. Now that's a higher level,
right.
but detachment is something that I think it basically just means staying balanced in your emotions. That's really all it means. But it doesn't mean that you don't care. It doesn't mean you can't come home and kiss your wife and love on your wife and hug her and do it. It
Right.
doesn't mean any of that. I could be detached, but it just means because detachment is something, it's not for the person, it's for me, or it's for the user. But it doesn't mean not caring. It doesn't mean that I'm going to turn my back on you. If I see my boy or somebody getting into a fight, I'm detachment doesn't mean I'm detached from it. Let him get his ass kicked. You know what I'm saying? That's not what it
Right.
means. It's
Right.
but the knowledge of it, the science of it is being able to be detached while you're in the middle of making love, while you're in the middle of fight, while you're in the middle of an argument, because what happens once you leave, once that, because it's going to end, we're in the realm of time and space, it'll end. And we've all been through situations where we're like, damn, I probably shouldn't have said that, I probably shouldn't have done that. But being detached from it allows you to move on from it and have peace with it. But it's definitely, you bringing that up, that's definitely a an exercise that takes time and understanding, and it needs to be taught correctly. So yeah.
You know who has a lot of people in prison have this you got the path of nature, and
Yep.
then you got the formal path where you're being taught by someone. A lot of cats who go to prison, they take the path of nature. But the thing is, once they get to prison, a lot of brothers and sisters, when they have the ability to sit down and quiet the mind because you're locked down, now you're in the process of thinking and assessing and questioning and you know, thinking about how things could have went different had you made a different decision.
Right.
Now,
Hey, I know you might have to edit this out, but hey, bear with me 1 second and hold that thought. Yes. Yes. She was just like burning my whole face up, looking at me, trying to get my attention. But go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
but yeah, when a lot of cats go to prison, they have time to sit down and assess. And
Yes.
the only thing we're saying is, and it's not easy. In the
Right.
midst of things occurring, train yourself to have a moment to reflect and think before you move, because the outcome will be much different if you don't do this and you just respond.
Right.
It will save it. A lot of people, and it boils down to, we're protecting our egos in a lot of situations. I'm not talking about self-preservation, making sure no one harms you or your family,
Right.
but a
Right.
lot of stuff that we protect, it's all ego based anyway.
Yeah. 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 And I'll say this too. Everything that we're talking about, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes, in my military terms, it takes training. This
Right.
is not something that happens overnight. This is something it's a practice. But the one thing that you said, and this, I want to touch on this. Like when I was talking, and I can't take credit for this, but I'm gonna talk about Ampu and when we were studying the Egyptian yoga philosophies of enlightenment book. Um, you mentioned lockdown in prison and the time to think. Listen, these cats in prison can do anything. They can make chessboards out of toilet paper.
Right.
They can make knives out of toilet paper. They they figured it out. They can have a gourmet and I'm not making light of it, but they can have the noodles and onions, they can do whatever they want in prison because they have time to think.
Yep.
Now, when we go back to our ancient ancestry, if you go back in antiquity, why do you think the pyramids were built? Why do you think that the Cometians were the greatest civilization to ever grace the planet? So, in speaking with Ampu Sayadaw, in those sessions, there was probably like about a 3 month to period where they went to the highlands as the Nile would flood, and that gave them time to think. It gave them time to reflect. Human beings, you give us the time, you give it, we'll come up with, you know what I'm saying? So and I hate to go from prison to Kemet, but the point is that having that time to think, having that time where you don't have any distractions, you don't have kids to worry about, you don't have my mama's sick to worry about, you don't have anything else, and you get a pinpointed focus on making your life and the life of those around you in society and ultimately civilization better. When you're dedicated to that, then you get ancient Egypt and all the temples, you get the pyramids, and then on the flip side, you get the cats in jail that can make a chessboard out of
Right.
toilet paper. And when you and I and Amenta and Oba went into the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. You remember that?
Right.
And just seeing them brothers, man, it was like, remember the Muslim brothers? You had the Muslim brothers. You had you had Shatat Nutera in there. Those they're the
Yeah.
ones that kind of sanctioned it, and then you had the whites and the Christians, and just sitting up there and we're drumming and we're just. But um, I didn't mean to get off on that. But my point is that given the time. and to think and to reflect. I think that's understated in our society now because everything is the rat race, everything's hustle and bustle.
By
Um,
design.
yeah, by design, right? So yeah, so I just wanted to, you talked about lockdown. I wanted to bring that back to how it's not even necessarily about being in prison. This is about having the time to think and focus
Right,
and
right,
pinpoint your your thoughts. Um, so yeah,
right. That goes back to I see some videos where you have I watch these kids in Africa who have absolutely nothing. It's
Hmm.
just, rocks and rubbish, and they don't have nothing, but they've created all this advanced stuff with junk.
Yeah, yeah,
With junk. So I
yeah,
get it. And keeping us distracted and keeping us constantly working and keeping us constantly on the go worried about something is by design. So we don't
yeah,
take the time to figure us
yep,
and the phenomenal world around us out.
yep, yep.
It's all by design. And just to segue into, because I'm going to go into diet, talk about diet a little bit next, but fasting is based on the same principle of giving yourself time. And this is why fasting works so well, because on a very low level, it's allowing the body to clear out and
Yes,
get rid of, build, and repair.
absolutely. Yes,
On a bigger level, your mind is now not cluttered with the cell phone, texting, social media, TV, music, rap, who's beefing, any of that. And now your mind sits and ponders on things you probably never really pondered on. And now you're having breakthroughs or downloads or channels into the greater mysteries of things. And that's pretty much that's why fasting is so phenomenal. Straight up.
and yet, and you, yeah, because really, what you did, you brought up the mental aspect of fasting.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So most people think of fasting like, oh man, I can't eat and so, but it mirrors. It's like the spiritual meeting the fit, or let me not say spiritual, but because it's all spiritual, but it's more so the unconscious mind meeting the unconscious aspect of yourself meeting the conscious aspect of yourself. Fasting physically, like, you should fast at least 3 days out of a month, if not every Sunday. But in our tradition, church, eating food or whatever, and then you got to go to work Monday. But at least fasting one day a week um, helps you to, and taking an herbal supplement or something like that. That helps to just because now you're clearing the body, which helps you, to clear the mind.
That's one of the things
So
that
they're
people
hand in
say.
hand. They're hand in
Yeah.
hand.
That's one of the things that people say when they fast. Like my mind and
My,
my
my
thoughts were so clear.
man, Man, listen, this too. I did when we was in temple. I remember I did a 7 day fast, and let me not, front. I ate some cucumber. I had cucumber. I had some like almonds and stuff, and some watermelon, and a lot of water, and some green drink. So it wasn't like wasn't eating nothing. So I don't want to front like that. But
So
I'll tell you this.
you were in a calorie deficit. So yeah,
Yes,
go
yes,
ahead.
but yeah, but I was meditating, man. I felt like I was so light, and then and then you get to a point where, man, you think like, man, I don't ever need to really eat again.
Right, right. You get that feeling.
That. So, once you get past the first couple of days,
Right.
but you're so clear. So to your point, man, it's a mental fasting, a physical fasting. I think we can all benefit from both.
And the body does it naturally. You get sick, the body shuts the eating
Yeah,
process
it's gonna.
down.
Yep, yep,
You don't want to eat, and the body goes to work on stuff. That's when you be having vivid dreams and all
yep,
sorts of stuff come to you.
yep.
I can say the times that I have had the flu, when you're not eating, you get into that fever, you're sweating and all this crap,
Hmm.
uh, and detoxing. But some of the messaging and some of the dreams and things that you're gonna have are gonna be so clear and vivid
Clear. Yes.
on the next level. But let me ask you a question. Go ahead.
And real quick, it's almost like you're not dreaming. It's almost like you're walking in that reality
Right, right, right,
consciously. But
right,
yeah,
right. So let me ask you a question. because a lot of people deal with the vegan thing, they got the raw food thing, people got the pescatarian thing. You got what's my guy? Yaki, who's eat the fruit on the fruit diet. And um I hear people ask the question sometimes, if we're gonna die or transition out of these avatars, what's the point of me having this uh,
Nah.
ideal diet that someone thinks I should have?
So look, so if you had asked me this question 20 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to say I wouldn't because you remember you probably heard this was shit. At least I'll die happy, right? You remember back in the day, oh shit, I'll die happy. But see, as you get older and you start seeing your parents and stuff like that, there is no die happy shit. And I mean like that, that just doesn't whatever. I can't speak for anybody. I can just say the whole die happy thing, that was just a colloquialism that we used. But um no, so I think just looking at like as you get older, you start to see how foods and how diet affects you as you get older, from memory loss to cancers. Like cancer is like big business right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, what the fuck? Everybody got fucking cancer? Everybody. Look, yo, I go on my timeline, like niggas that I went to high school with, cancer survivors and shit. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, we'll talk about
But
that.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. But hey, maybe by design. But hey, that's not for me to talk about right now. But my
Right.
point is that especially my people, we be like, yo, I'm gonna die happy shit. I mean, and listen, as vegan, you remember as vegan as I was and as vegetarian as I can be, man, listen, I'm in Louisiana, man. Hey, sometimes I'm like, yo, I'm gonna go get this motherfucking fried chicken. I'm just going to, and I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna
Balance.
do that. Yeah, I'm gonna do that just so it gets off because it be on my mind and shit. Like I'm like, yo, I'm riding past it, like I'm fighting it. I'm like, okay, 2 piece dark, red beans and rice, a pepper. I'm keeping it real. But
Yeah,
but
I'm with you.
but if you go in my refrigerator, it's fruit salad. It's fruit salad. It's kale salad. I got a cabbage dish that I from stuff that I used to make back in the day. I still make the
Right.
same guacamole. I still throw the same. You call it avocado salad. It's called guacamole, but I call it avocado salad because you introduced me to that. Like I still do that every day, man. Make sure heavy on the garlic, heavy on the cilantro, and it's pure green health. So I make sure I do that 5 to 6 days out of the weekend, and I just have my time where I'm gonna just wild out because. And you know what I think, I can't blame my kids, but sometimes, man, I gotta cook stuff for them or get them prepared, and I'm like,
Right.
yeah, I'm hungry. I might as well eat some spaghetti with them or whatever because that's just the way life is going. But for the most part, yeah, man, it's all about balance, though, So, to your point,
Yeah, I think just from a spiritual perspective, and I heard one of the elders say this, that we come here, we have these bodies, they're avatars. You need an avatar to come into this dimension. Now, what the diet does, an ideal diet. Now, I'm not here to tell people what the ideal diet is because
right, right,
I personally think, based on all of these years of evolution, I'm talking thousands of years of evolution and change from genetics and different environments, and
yep,
we're not in the same habitat, so things
right.
have evolved.
Right, exactly. We can't eat like the ancient Commetans did because we're not in that climate. We don't grow things like that like they did. We got grocery stores now, so I get it. But yeah, so yeah,
And
I
that's
got I
and that,
follow you.
yeah, and that's not an excuse, but what I'm just
No,
saying
no,
is we are products of an aspect of evolution and how we live now.
yeah,
Now, you still have a level of responsibility. Back to my point, we have these avatars. These avatars are used to inhabit this dimension.
yeah,
Now, the real you is not the body. We took on these bodies just to be here. Now, the ideal diet does And keep in mind, our bodies are electrical in essence. So we need to put foods in. And I'm just speaking just from just a basic level of how things work. If
Mhm.
our bodies are electric, then we probably would be more suitable eating things that are electric as fuel to give us the optimal performance of our avatar. Now, when you bring in the spiritual aspect of it, people say, well, in order for you to be this, that, and the third, you need to eat this way.
Mhm.
Here's the science on that. If you want the best spiritual experience from your avatar, you would eat X, Y, and Z, because X, Y, and Z is going to facilitate the best performance in your meditation, the best performance in your astral projection, the best performance in your spiritual awareness and downloads. That's
Right.
what those optimal diets
Right.
do. Ultimately, they enhance your ability to tap in on a greater level. That's not to say you're going to hell or you're going to be damned because you ate some food that people call bad. Now,
Right.
on a human level, if you eat bad food, you damage the avatar. Now it starts to tap into the quality of your life and how you live and how you exist
Right.
here.
Right.
And if you don't want a crappy existence or a raggedy ass avatar breaking
Right.
down, whether it's disease, you got a bump here, you're scratching because you're ashy, your hair is dry, your breath smells bad, you got a bum
Right.
leg, like
Right.
your avatar, your avatar is going to function
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
based on what how you take care of it. And so
Yeah.
this is just
Yeah.
basic mechanics. This is
Yeah.
nothing, because I personally feel like vegans now have turned veganism into a religion. They say,
Mm.
well,
Mm.
I'm not going to eat meat because I'm helping the animals. It's just cruel. And, they have
Yeah.
lives and families. Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
That's your motive. That's your agenda. But you never spoke anything about health.
Right.
Health has nothing to do with your cause. Just save the fucking animals.
You're right.
And you still going to go and eat a whole bunch of starch and shit that's
Right.
going to produce the same sickness that if a
Right.
nigga was eating meat, you go
Right.
the same outcome.
Right.
It's insane.
Right.
It's more
Yes.
moral. They turned it into a moral thing
Yeah.
versus something
A health.
at
Yeah.
a health thing. In other
Right.
words, I get you could do both,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. You can. Yeah.
some are driven by their moral stance on veganism. To
Right.
me, that's no different than religion. It's what you
Yeah.
believe, and you're willing to go all out for it. Cool, fine.
Yeah. And
But
that's fine. Yeah. Like you said, that's fine. Hey,
yeah,
cool. Yeah. Yeah. But ultimately, like you said, it's for your avatar.
right. And that's really what it boils down to: the quality of life that you want here in this dimension. And if you want to tap in and have your quote unquote superpowers, then it's going to require you to have a particular diet, hands down.
Qua-
Yeah,
Quality of life is that's what you said a mouthful with that. You know what I mean? Like that's it. And so, like you said, like I said, when we get older, as we get older, we see our parents going through, and like I said, people my age with cancer. I'm like, what the fuck?
right.
So now I'm like, yo, test my blood, motherfucker. Hey, I need my blood tested. Um, like because I'm like, yo, what the like? How do you know? How do you know? Because but obviously it's because I'm like, yo, people my age, how are they getting cancer? It has to be. It can't just be. But I think we downplay, you know, the non-organic stuff, the eating the chicken and the fried chicken and all the grease and and then the chicken, full of hormones, and I think we downplay that. But to be honest with you, and I'm gonna say this, back in my mom and pop's day, I don't think niggas in high school had cancer or niggas in their 30s had cancer.
It's a rarity. It was a rarity.
Right. Now it's like, yo, everybody I look, oh damn, she shaved her head. What the fuck? Oh, she used to be fine. Like, yo, what the fuck happened to her? She cancer survivor. Like, what the fuck is this shit? So yeah. So to the diet aspect of it, I think and Saber just said this a while ago. And I told my mom this, because hey, you go to Whole Foods, it's expensive, but he's like, hey man, you're gonna pay one way or the other.
All right.
So, yeah.
One way or the other.
Yep.
So
you gonna pay for organic and all the things you need for that, or you gonna pay the doctor, which you can't afford anyway. And that's why motherfuckers be, that's why you got people, damn, I didn't mean to cuss out. That's
no,
why people are having, that's why we're in the situation that we're in as a society with obesity rates, cancer rates. But then let's not fall into the big business aspect of it because it's big business. So we want
right.
to stay away from that. But as a people, what I'm saying? Like they're eating off of our sickness.
Definitely. And I, in one of my reflective moments, it came to me that they have all these foundations and they collect all this money for cancer research, is that and third to cure cancer. Now, it came to me in a download in a very reflective state that I was in that cancer is not the problem. I think if we start having discussions about the causes, we don't even have to talk about the cure.
There you go.
But
Yep.
nobody wants to talk about the
The
causes because the
causes.
causes are now going to get into the aspects of corporate interest, because those are the ones who are actually fueling
Yep.
this whole thing that we call cancer. A lot of the products, a lot of the foods and industries of just commercial processing,
Man, yeah, hell yeah. McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, man, look, you can't stop going to them.
skin products, hair grease, perm, all
Yeah,
this stuff. So
yeah.
when you look at that, I think the conversation needs to be, let's talk about the causes versus the cure. Because if you,
Right.
you get rid of the cause, we don't even got to discuss the cure
There
at
you
all.
go.
And I don't think many people have really thought about that. They want to talk about, cancer, but they don't want to talk about the causes. And
Right.
and it's the same conversation when people talk about black people in our condition in slavery. They have this thing where they'll say niggas they'll rob, kill, steal. They ain't about shit. They ain't gonna come together. They gonna tear each other down. This, that, and third. Okay, I get all that. But this, if you educate yourself and you understand the historical aspect of it, you're talking about a people who have a sickness. They're not in their right minds. Now, if they're not in their right minds, then let's discuss what went into creating this sickness. If you go there, the conversation now changes.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't entertain conversations about how bad we are.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
talk about how we got here.
Got there. Absolutely. But see, no, that's a conversation that nobody wants to have. And then they'll try to say, hey, oh well, get over it. That was that. No, we're
You're not in,
still
you're not in a position to say get over it.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. And we wonder why we can't get together. We wonder why we have, because and to that point, Marcus Garvey tried to do that. They say, hey, and I'm speaking strictly for our people at this point, like, hey, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Well,
Right.
when we did in in the 1920s in Tulsa with Black Wall
Yeah,
Street,
it got
they
scary.
massacred us for no reason, just because because we were pulling ourselves up by our bootstrap. So, you know what I'm saying? Like the Black Panthers, you know what I'm saying? They put Huey Newton in prison. And then he died. Him and Bobby Seale ended up becoming enemies. And what I mean, from a cause that was pure and from a cause that was sweeping the nation with free breakfast because and I don't want to get too political. I don't want to get too power to the people about it. But free breakfast programs for kids in poverty, like that was bad. That was a bad thing to the powers that be. So anyway, my point is we've gone through these stages and we've seen it firsthand how trying to do it or trying to unite and trying to, as they say, pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps because y'all fuck that welfare and all that oh you government handouts. Well, damn. And so it goes back to your point. Well, damn, well, when we did try, so but anyway, to your point, I'm just speaking to that point. Like
Yeah.
we've been trying to pull ourselves up even with the Nation of Islam, it's not what it used to be. But you remember back in the day. Well, I remember back in the day, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was gone by that time. But it was like, yo, we can do our own thing. We don't fuck segregation. We can make our own shit.
Right.
And what happened to that? So, to your point, that's my take.
I have a very interesting perspective on this entire process. And we're going to get into that on the next segment, because in some of my reflections, I've asked the question, what is the ultimate goal? Like, when you look at slavery as we know it, you look at our history, you look at what we still go through.
Mm-hmm.
I had these questions, were we supposed to go through that? Did we do something wrong? Is it by design? Is anybody going to pay? What is the end result? Are we chosen? Like, those are the questions that some people ask. But I got a really good metaphysical piece that I want to interject into that conversation.
I was gonna say that there's a spiritual aspect to that, but yeah.
Right. And
yeah.
Some people may be shocked. Some people may agree. Some people may disagree. But it's just a perspective. It's just a perspective that I want to offer up on that whole thing. But we're not going to get into it on this segment. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. But I enjoyed the dialogue, the conversation, and we got many more of these coming.
Absolutely,
most definitely. But on that note, I'm your brother Muad'Dib. This is the To Initiate segment, and I like to thank my brother Fame coming through, also known as Walker. And we got a lot of history to make with this segment, like for real. So please support the channel. Please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends to tell a friend, and we got work to do. On that note, I'm going to say peace, and everybody be easy.
Peace and blessings. Peace.